Hey guys, this is a video to demonstrate QGroundControl and its capabilities. This is primarily meant for my RPICs at York College of Pennsylvania, but I'll probably leave this as a public video for anyone else who might want help with QGroundControl in its current state. This is being recorded, obviously, as you can see on the bottom right of my screen, 4/26/2020. So QGroundControl is an app that allows you to control your drone via an autonomous flight path, which you predetermine here in this app. So this is the screen you're probably going to see, or a similar screen, when you open up QGroundControl. As you can see up here, we have a few different tabs. We'll get into those a little bit later. And we also have some different gauges here. So this is the current tab you're going to want to be using when you're actually flying. This right here is a bunch of different sensors and gauges to allow you to see kind of what the drone's doing when it's following its flight path. And also you can see up here that my vehicle connection, I don't currently have my device connected to a vehicle, but if I were to, you'd see a few different options up here, including different flight modes you could be in, your drone could be in, and stuff of that nature. So, to demonstrate my flight path, I will come in here to Nowhere, Nebraska, follow Highway 83 here, see if there's any good farms. There's a decent farm. Yeah, I'll just use this one. So, when you want to make a flight path, this is the tab you're going to want to use. This is a kind of a path tab. So you click on this, and you can see right away you have a few different options. You can make a blank plan, survey plan, corridor scan, or a structure scan. You can also see here that there's storage, so if you were to save a certain path that you want to keep and keep reusing, you can save it, and you can obviously open it here. To create a new plan, we'll just click the blank. You can't click anywhere, first of all. A lot of your actions are defined either by this left-hand tab or this right-hand tab. So in order to start a plan, you have to click takeoff here. And now you can click anywhere on the screen as defined right here to define your takeoff location. So I'm gonna, it's this airport right here. So I'm gonna take off away from the airport for sure. And right away, as soon as I click that, you can see on the right hand side of your screen that the takeoff kind of function has appeared. So right away, you're given an option to change its altitude. For most of my missions, I typically do 30 meters. After this, you can also kind of click and drag this takeoff icon around in case you're not happy with your position. And now you can create waypoints if you click on the waypoint on the left hand side. At this point, keeping away from the airport, I'm just going to kind of click around this farm, let's say. And now I want to return back to launch. I can click on the left hand side of the screen, I can click return, and that will automatically create this extra path. So right away, there's a few different things to look at here. So if you follow my cursor, the bottom left hand side of the screen here has your terrain altitude. So these little gray bars here denote the terrain altitude, as it might say, and these little green these little dots here are the altitude of your drone, or the altitude of your waypoints rather. So if I were to click on a waypoint on the right hand side of the screen here and I were to change its altitude, you could see all of the rest of these respectively go down. I'll change this back. So that's pretty much all there is to see here. It's a neat little way to check your altitudes, and it's an important thing to check before you start flying. As you can see on the right hand side of the screen here, you can click on your waypoints and you can change a few different things within them. So you can change the altitude just like the takeoff. You can also add a hold, which obviously holds your drone at that certain waypoint for a set amount of time. You can also control your flight speed. So if I were to click on this, I could change this to 10 meters per second if I wanted to. And you can also change your camera. I don't have a thing connected obviously, but you can take photos at a certain time, distance. You can also take video and stuff of that nature. With the gimbal enabled, you can also change your pitch and yaw of your camera. You can do that for any waypoint. You can also delete these waypoints. You can also change these waypoints. So you can change them to be takeoff, land, spline waypoints, stuff of that nature. Another thing that's important to see here is the total mission. So after I deleted a few of those waypoints, my total mission time is 18 minutes with a total distance of 1,927 meters and a max telemetry distance, which is the distance away from where the launch position is, of 907 meters. If I were to take another waypoint away, you can see that time goes down a little bit and the distance goes down a little bit. Another important thing to see here is the path itself. So this little orange-ish line is denoting the path that the drone will take, with these white little arrows denoting the direction along that path that the drone will take. The green dots are the waypoints that you have currently selected, and obviously the takeoff is labeled as a T. And that's probably about it for the waypoint side of things. So what I want to do now is to show y'all the survey scan. So the survey scan is important to RPICs because I use this a lot for the multispectral analysis team. For them, they need a repeatable mission at a certain spacing and a certain height in order to get a accurate depiction of a full field or a full farm. So let's just say here that you have to click done adjusting here at takeoff. Let's just say, so you've got, let me back up a little bit. So you have a few different polygon tools here. You have basic, circular, trace. They are kind of as depicted. Basic is a rectangle, just kind of what it is. Circle is obviously circular, and trace is you can go around a field or something and kind of make a more complex polygon. And then you can come in here and say done with polygon. So at this point, you can see a bunch of different options on the survey screen. You have to work with your multispectral analysis team in order to determine this. I believe they have a chart somewhere in their Parrot Sequoia camera guidebook, but typically I think the altitude was like 25 meters and the spacing was about 6 meters. But obviously, as you can see with me changing these values, the spacing increases or decreases. The altitude doesn't show, but you can see it up here. It kind of changes relative to your land altitude and stuff of that nature. I believe that 25 meters and 6 meters, I think it was actually 30 meters for the altitude, was the accurate thing for the Parrot Sequoia. And this is also an important tool right here to change your angle. So I showed y'all earlier the time, and depending on the angle you have it at, that might change. So as I kind of move this around, you can see the time going up and down there. And I think that's an important thing to note, because especially with more square shapes, you might be able to get a significant decrease in your time. As you can see here, I can make it 51 minutes, or I can make it 38 minutes, which is a fairly significant time difference. I think it's also important to note here that this is, right here you can see that there's a 2. So this is kind of showing you that this is step 2 of kind of what the drone's following of its commands, and this is step 423. I guess I can go over the tabs real quick. So I don't usually use this tab too much. This is just kind of settings and firmware upgrades. I don't think you'll typically need that too much. This is an important tab because you can change your units if you wanted to go to English units for some reason. You can also change, like, you can save your logs and stuff of that nature, and a bunch of other complex stuff that I personally never touch. This is also an important tab right here, because if you want to communicate an issue to people on the PixHawk forums, then they might ask you to send your log in using this kind of check category, where you can kind of filter through your log easier. That being said, you can also see your log download here. This is just kind of a demonstration, so I don't have any log downloads, but I have used log download on my phone, and this does have a few different downloads. And I believe that is about it. So I hope that y'all found this informative and helpful, and safe flying.